All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast. I'm your host, John Heck. As always, before we get rolling here, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, Troponin Supplements, keeping me decked out in the gear as always. And then before every episode, you've heard me say it 100 times. I'm going to say it 100 times again. Taking my ATP. It's an effervescent tablet you drop in your water like an Alka-Seltzer. Tastes great, but it's packed with 300 milligrams of caffeine and a powerful nootropic that just gives me a good lift in mood, focus, a little bit of memory enhancement, which is key for me doing these podcasts, talking to guests like I have on today. So guys, go to the Troponin Supplements website, use code HECK for a discount. They got the best supplements on the market. But anyway, without further ado, guys, so we're in a little bit of a strongman series right now. So by the time you're hearing this, we'll have North Americans, big strongman competition in Canada will have wrapped up, and you'll either have heard or be about to hear from a couple of the monsters who competed in that show. And then we have the Strongest Man on Earth competition coming up in Denver, Colorado here in mid-August, hosted by Brian Shaw. And that is now become one of the premier strongman competitions in the world. I'd say there's, four big ones, right? There's World's Strongest Man, there's the Arnold, there's the Rogue Invitational, and then there's the Strongest Man on Earth. So the guy I have on today is going to be making a rookie debut at the Strongest Man on Earth competition. He is a young up-and-comer in the elite ranks of strongman. Josh Spurgeon, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Josh is, he's a soft-spoken monster, and I've had the pleasure of working with him for as a nutrition coach here for the last several months. So I'm fired up to get a few of my guys on here that I've had the honor of handling their nutrition. And the nutrition piece, it's such a big aspect of strongman because the demands of the sport for these guys, the size that they have to carry, it's just superhuman on another level. And Josh, I mean, you're a relatively new name in the sport. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this who are unfamiliar with you right now, but they're going to become familiar with you. I think you're going to come in and make a splash on the big strongman scene. So if you don't mind, can you just give a little quick background, who you are to the audience?
Yeah, well, at home, I'm a fiance. At work, I'm an application engineer. And then afterwards, I enjoy lifting in the gym. And it kind of all stemmed from high school sports. I played football, did a little bit of track, just throwing. Definitely wasn't running. Got forced to run a couple times, but just tried to avoid that. And then I walked on to the University of Toledo. Nobody in my family really went to college, but I still wanted to continue playing football. After a couple of years, I realized I wasn't going to the NFL. I wasn't quite that good. Good enough to be there, but not good enough to go any farther. So I just focused on my career, got a bachelor's in engineering, and started doing some powerlifting. I was like, I'll never lift heavy again. I want to just lose weight. I was always a bigger kid. I was like 280 at the time. And then I started getting pretty strong, and I kept powerlifting for a couple of years and always watched strongman, but never thought I would be strong enough to compete in the sport. And then I had my last powerlifting meet, and I totaled over 2,200 pounds. And I was like, I think I'm ready for strongman.
Oh yeah. Was that a raw total?
Raw with reps.
Raw with wraps. Got it. And you're what? You just had a birthday. You just turned 28.
That's correct. Yep.
28 years young. So man, in the strength game, it's kind of an old man's game. Like when it comes to explosive, speed-based team sports, football, basketball, baseball, it's kind of a young man's game. But when it comes to strength sports, powerlifting, strongman, hell, even bodybuilding, it takes a long time to build that. I mean, dad strength, old man strength is a real thing. So for you to be just still in your 20s and reaching the level you're at, man, you could have a long career ahead of you. And a lot of these dudes are going to be competing against, they're guys who are in their mid 30s. So to have a young dude like you coming in and with the strength that you have, I'm really excited to see what you can do and excited for you to introduce yourself to the strongman world, man. So, it's actually, I didn't realize that you played ball at Toledo.
Yeah, just for a couple of years, about 2 years or so. It was actually like the day before the spring game, I said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And there's a lot of stuff there. I came in as defense and defensive line at like 2 weeks in the spring ball. I mean, you know how it goes. They switched me to offense. Didn't really understand how much the center actually controlled the offense.
Yeah.
Like the quarterback gets all the glory, but the center actually decides what's happening every play for every position. Just about. So they split me to center, and I was already behind, and I was kind of getting a bad GPA. I had like a 2.2 or something. So I was like, hey, this isn't working out anymore. And just walked in there one day and I said, this is enough. I need to focus on life. So
Understood. When you were playing ball, were you, kind of strongest guy in the weight room at that point, or were you a little bit of a later bloomer with the strength?
no, that's really where I excelled. I was strong in the weight room. And I enjoyed that aspect of it more than playing on the field. It just came more naturally to me. I was more respected in there. I maybe didn't have the best development growing up football wise than some of the other kids. I mean, when you go to college, you're playing with the best of the best. A lot of them come from really good high schools, or they had one really good coach that kind of knew the game and they kind of, mentored them the way there and everything like that.
Yeah, no, man, I completely feel you because, like, for me, I played ball at University of North Carolina, and I did have a football upbringing. My dad, he's the offensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. He played 12 years in the NFL. I got a brother who is an offensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But for me, like, football was never my passion. My passion was the weight room. Like during the football year, man, the off season, the lifting, the running, that was my in season. Like that's where I thrived. That's where I felt my competitive fire. Same to you. That's kind of where I gained respect and gained confidence. And then during the football season itself, man, I was just already counting the months until winter training was rolling around. So no, you and I very much, resonate on that. Okay, so you got done playing football and you went right into powerlifting, correct?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I recovered my GPA and focused on school, and it turned out okay that spring. And then I was just lifting at the rec center, and somebody's like, "Hey, you should try powerlifting." And I was like, "I don't know what that is. I don't know. We'll see." I went, I went to the first meet and it had no belt, maybe just wrist wraps or something. And I think I squatted I mean, it's probably on open powerlifting if you really want to look at it, but maybe squatted like 500 pounds or something, or maybe squatted six, benched like upper threes and deadlifted five or something like that. But had no idea what I was doing.
Right. And as you kind of got a little bit further along in powerlifting and ultimately getting to a 2,200 pound raw total, did you have formal coaching or were you just kind of winging it throughout that whole process?
Actually, I didn't have any coaching in powerlifting, no nutrition, no coaching. Where I excelled, I went to, after like a year or so, I went to a private gym. It was like right after COVID. I went to a private gym in Toledo, and I kind of just had a mentor. If you're in the powerlifting community, you probably know him, Tyler Butcher. And he kind of took me under his wing, and I just kind of followed his program to an extent, but never had prescribed weights, I guess. And I just made sure I did more than I did the last time I did a triple, or the last time I did five. I just did more weight. So it was like the most bare bones, basic, like linear progression you could think of.
Man, and I think people get so caught up sometimes in the nuances of they get so caught up in the nuances of their programming, trying to make everything optimal that they just forget to train hard. And if you look at like who are the best dudes in the sport, the strongest guys, man, they're the guys who didn't overthink things. They just went in there, they trained. They love to train, they push themselves hard. Hey, like you said, just make sure I lifted more than I lifted the last time. And look, I'm a programming nerd. I love getting into the details. So whenever I talk about this stuff, I don't want to come across like I'm saying, don't learn about programming, don't learn the ins and outs of training. But a message I always try to get across is, man, when you're starting off, just worry about training hard, like develop a passion in there. Go push yourself. I mean, and then you can sort out all the details as you get further along in your career. But okay, so you said this is all going down kind of around the COVID time. So you can't have been in Strongman for very long then.
No, actually just about 3 years now.
3 years, jeez. 3 years to be.
Kind of went quickly through the ranks, but at the same time, I kind of went slowly. I think I went at the perfect pace for myself.
Yeah.
You see some people, they take too long, and then when they get to the top, they get injured and they're done. Within their first year or two, or vice versa, they get to the top super young. They've been competing since they're 16 and their body's just burnt. I'm sorry, if they get to the top too quickly, they're not strong enough yet. They finish towards the bottom at all the pro shows.
No,
And there's nothing wrong with that. It just takes time. That's what
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. You see some of these dudes who are just, they're so gifted. They get started competitively really young. And then they just get into this place where they're just constantly competing, just constantly competition after competition after competition. And they're not taking off seasons. They're not really just working on their general strength. And then next thing you know, they get hurt or they get burned out. They're kind of a flash in the pan, so you see that a lot in strongman. But she's 3 years in the sport and already about to make a debut at Strongest Man on Earth. I mean, that says a lot. How did you ultimately decide to make the transition from powerlifting to strongman? Did you have a coach push you in that direction? Did you have access to a strongman gym? What was that transition like?
Actually none of it. I always watched it as a kid, watched it on ESPN, saw it on TV every now and then. But all I knew about strongman was World's Strongest Man. And I just never thought I was strong enough to do it until right around, I think I've actually been in the sport 4 years. I think my first show was in 22. It was the OSG qualifier. But I had a powerlifting meet in June, and maybe about May, I was checked out of powerlifting and I wanted to commit to strongman because that's when Brian Shaw was opening the Shaw Classic Open online qualifier. I think that was the first or second year he did it. And I looked at the numbers and I was like, oh, I think I can do this. I was like, no, I just need to finish this prep for powerlifting, finish my show, and then just be done and go from there. And then that's why after that, it was probably about July I started. So July 2021, I think, or 2022. It was one of those 2 years I started prepping for an OSG qualifier out in Washington, actually at Dungeon Strength, where I took second. And then, that was the year of Daytona with the hurricane. They canceled everything. And I, kind of rough there. But then I kind of went through the ranks normally, like did a local, did a regional, went to the amateur Arnold. One thing I never did nationals. I never did Strongman Corp or US nationals. I kind of skipped that.
Got it. And did you kind of take naturally to the strongman events? Did you kind of naturally develop a good overhead press?
No. I had to get athletic again because for 2 or 3 years I was just squat, bench, and deadlift. The gym was very small. It had some dumbbells, a cable machine, and like a leg press. I mean, it was no bigger than, a bedroom. It was a pretty tight gym, just enough for a monolith, a deadlift platform, and a bench, and a couple little things, maybe a cage. So I wasn't doing too many movement-based things, but what I did to prep for that show, I looked at the events. Luckily, there was a bench press. Another gym had some sandbags, so I went and carried some sandbags there. But I really struggled with sandbags. I really struggled. One thing I really took naturally to in strongman was probably deadlift and grip. But I was already training my deadlift, so that's natural. I mean, of course, there's carry over there. But then for some reason, I do have really good grip. I'm not sure why, but I'm thankful for it because I know some people just get plagued with it, and it's in every show.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you've ripped some huge deadlifts. I'm always blown away whenever I see you posting on Instagram. Just the speed off the floor, the explosiveness that you have. What's your best deadlift to date?
So my best raw deadlift is 885. And I did it in March of 24, in prep for the amateur Arnold. They had a Hummer tire pull, but I don't think I ever pulled anything from, it was elevated. I think it was like 16-inch or 14-inch. It was higher. And I don't think I pulled anything from height. I just kept pulling from the floor. And then I went to the show and pulled it from height.
Got it. And then you've put together some pretty damn big overhead presses here. And, you don't need to throw the numbers out if you don't want to, if you want to keep that under wraps, but what are some of your best overhead press numbers to date?
No, I don't mind saying numbers. If people want to find them, they're out there. If they want to count the plates, that's on them. If I'm really in their head that much, then that's their problem. So I just doubled 410 the other week, a couple weeks ago now. And then this week, so maybe, I'm not sure when this is being released, but 2 or 3 weeks out from small, I'm going to hit my last heavy single and maybe shoot for somewhere between 420-ish, 425, somewhere around there.
Yeah, no, you sent me that, you texted me that 410 double on the log. Man, I was so freaking fired up to see that. The log event's going to be crazy at Strongest Man on Earth. I mean, there's going to be a number of dudes pressing well over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Trey and Lucas, who of course are going to be hitting, who knows, maybe getting close to 500. You got a bunch of other dudes in there. So, I mean, it's crazy just seeing how far the standards in the sport are being pushed. But, like it wasn't long ago doubling a 410 log, like that would be among the top of the game. So,
I feel like kilograms used to be the gold standard. Like you hit 200 kilograms, that's like a top 3, top 5 finish no matter what. And now I think that'll be middle of the pack at this show. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Are there any events that you're looking at that you're kind of like, okay, these are my, like, in my wheelhouse. These are my events I'm really looking forward to. I got to make my money here. And then are there some events that you're thinking, okay, these are going to be my tough ones?
I think just one event would be tough for me, and it'll be keg toss. I've gotten better, but I'm just not a naturally good thrower. That's something I've just never really picked up. Thankfully, I'm actually going to San Antonio this week. I'm going to lift with Austin and Nick, so hopefully Nick gives me some pointers because he's really good at throwing. He thinks it's something really basic. I have the power to throw, especially for kegs. You don't have to worry about the slack in the bag. It's just doing the movement correctly.
Yeah, throws, man. Throwing sessions are among the most fun ever to me, but also just the most frustrating because I'm not going to get that. You miss one throw and then you like, oh, it's in your head. You got to do it again. And then you get into that rhythm where you just keep missing for some reason. And it just bugs you all day long. But then some days it's like you come in and everything just clicks and you're just hitting it perfect. I've been focusing on throws myself here lately. I just love it. It's one of my random events. I've got some bucket list numbers I'm trying to check off here. I'm trying to get that 70-pound sandbag over 15 feet. I'll see if I can do it by the end of the summer. I'm kind of built for throwing, it's 6'7", but it could be
the 15 foot. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's gonna be God, it's pretty heavy in the show. Do you know what the weights are for the
we last had a draft of the rules. We just got more information last night. I haven't read it yet, like our itinerary and stuff like that. We got a draft for the rules a while ago, and it starts at 60 pounds.
So the worst kegs 60 pounds.
I think getting the first keg is going to be huge points for all the bad throwers. And there's a Kyle going, like maybe 3 or 4 people that aren't typically good throwers. So I think there's going to be a lot of people between 60 and 70 pounds. And there's going to be a lot of people between 70 and 80. I don't know how many people are really going to push beyond that or even have to push beyond that. But it is the second event, so everybody will still be fresh.
I'm sorry, it's kind of a wild card event. It's like one of those events that you might be a pretty good thrower and just come in and have a bad day. Like you're not going to come in and suddenly deadlift 100 pounds less than normal if you get hurt. But you might come in and just misgroove your throws. And you one bad throw and then all of a sudden that screws up the whole thing. So, I mean, I feel like that's one of those just kind of like scary wild card events where you could easily see a guy, one of the guys who's supposed to be on the podium take a big hit because of that, or you see someone you weren't expecting do really well in that event. So I'll be curious to watch that one. Let me ask you this, Josh. You're working with Big Laws, correct? He's your coach?
Yep, that's correct.
When did you guys get connected?
So I did that OSG qualifier, and then I qualified for OSG, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like this is a big show I should probably train for. Because at that time, I didn't know there was any other competitions that you could do. I didn't know about the Amateur Arnold. I didn't know about any of the local shows. I was like, how do you go to World's Strongest Man? Go to OSG. Or you go to Giants Live. How do you go to Giants Live? You go to OSG. So I'm like, okay, that's my plan. So I qualified for the World Final down in Daytona. And I was like, think maybe 2 or 3 months out, maybe like October-ish. And I just graduated in June from school. So I had, ironically more time, I thought, to commit to Strongman. And so I did the first show, did okay, hired Laws. And I was like, all right, now it's time to be serious. And I could actually afford a coach at that time too, since I was working full time.
Guys, thank you for tuning in and supporting the podcast. I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out over to my guys at Troponin Supplements. So they're the sponsor of the podcast, and in my opinion, they carry the best supplements on the market, and it's not even close. And they're the one company that I've wanted to align myself with. As a nutrition coach working with NFL football players, other professional athletes, strongman competitors, bodybuilders, powerlifters, fitness enthusiasts, endurance athletes, I have to be very particular about any supplement company I endorse. And with Troponin Supplements, frankly, it was a no-brainer. These are the products I've been using myself for the last few years before I ever became involved with the company. I know the owner personally, Justin Harris. He is one of the brilliant minds in the bodybuilding industry, and we've talked, and all he has wanted to do is just bring some of the elite top-of-the-line products to the market, and that's what he's done. So these are the products I recommend and endorse to all my athletes, all my clients. I use myself, and I want to pass this along to you guys as well. So I'm going to highlight a couple products here. First and foremost, we've got the ATP. This is a high dose of caffeine paired with a very powerful nootropic. I take this before work. I take this before I podcast. This is going to give you a great boost in mood, in focus, memory enhancement. You're just going to feel like you took the Limitless pill when you use ATP. It's an effervescent tablet. You drop it in your water, it dissolves, tastes great. The next product, Field Rations. This is the premier intra-workout supplement on the market right now. It's a one-stop shop for all your intra-workout needs. It's based in highly branched cyclic dextrin, contains essential amino acids, electrolytes, tastes amazing. I use this within every training session. Then we've got the Suppressor Max. This is awesome for controlling your blood sugar. It's got a high dose of berberine, but then has complementary ingredients that are going to keep the berberine bioavailable and stay in your system longer. This is the best blood sugar product on the market. If you're bulking, if you're eating a ton of food, if you're using a cheat meal, this is a great product for you. And then finally, I love this one. I've always had sleep issues. Hit the Rack. This is one of the best sleep products I've ever tried. I use it about 30 minutes before bed most nights, and this has been the one supplement that has actually helped me fall asleep and stay asleep. And then of course, we got the Troponin T logo bodybuilding jersey and the hat. We've got great apparel on the site. So guys, check out Troponin Supplements. You can find the link in the show notes, in the bio, or you can simply just Google Troponin Supplements. Use code HECK, capital H-E-C-K, at checkout for a discount. Check them out, guys. These are some of the best products on the market.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, Laz, he's working with a number of top guys in the sport right now. And then for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Lawrence Chalalet, who was an elite pro strongman competitor himself. He's gone on to become a prominent coach. He's out in the UK. I haven't met him yet. I'm looking forward to meeting him at Strongest Man on Earth because, I'm working with a handful of his guys, of course, including you. But man, how's the diet going over there, man? It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun working with you.
Yeah, I feel like I made a lot of progress in the fat loss phase at first. We were getting pretty aggressive with it, especially the last couple of weeks. And then transitioning over at that middle point, maybe not the last month, but the 2 months before that, maybe I was doing really good. And then, just with the travel, the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, starting for 3 weeks, I traveled a little bit, just trying to make smart decisions while on the road. Like as boring as Chipotle is for the 3 days in a row, that's what I ate for dinner. But it was better than getting pizza and things like that. And I wasn't perfect. Sometimes I have to go to dinner with my coworkers and I eat whatever best I possibly can. I'm not going to order a bunch of pizza and stuff, but if it has to be pasta, minimize the sauces, things like that. But last week was interesting, not to cut you off, with the 1,000 grams of carb. I was just like, how is this possible?
No, man. No, we now that we're getting into crunch time here and you've got some huge event days, some massive polls and log pressing, we wanted to crank up those carbs and just have you completely fueled and ready to go. And a guy at your size, like, guys don't realize how much fuel they need and can handle. But something that you touched on that I think it's something that people don't appreciate all the time is the fact that you're managing a full-time job on top of Strongman. You look at a lot of these guys who are at the top, and they're career strongmen at this point. This is what they don't work another job. Strongman is their career. And that becomes a huge advantage because when you're all you have to do is focus on training and eating and sleeping and recovering, you get to live truly like a professional athlete. But then a guy like you, who's kind of, an up and comer and entering into the elite ranks of the sport,
you're still having to work a job. You're still having to travel. You're catching flights, and you got all this going on top of your training and on top of your eating and on top of the recovery. What's it like just kind of managing all of that?
Well, to start off, I'm never perfect. That's foremost. It's hard to be perfect. Even if you can control everything, it's still hard to be perfect. It's just about being consistent, getting all the training in you possibly can. Some nights maybe you can't hit all your accessories just because of time. If I'm missing a bicep curl to get an extra 30 minutes of sleep, the sleep's probably worth it, especially if I had a big session. So there is some give and take, but I will say I switched jobs about 2 months ago, and it's between hiring you as my nutritionist and, dialing in my food intake and switching jobs. That's probably the two biggest things that have led me in the past couple months to make so much progress. It's insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've been crushing it, and I mean, you just hit a huge pull on the trap bar deadlift here on your birthday. Are you good sharing that number?
Yeah, it was a little over 1,000. It was about 1,010. So
Yeah.
and comp height.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I've seen a bunch of guys who they're pulling big trap bars, but I'm like, that looks like it's above competition height. I'm not going to mention any names of the guys I saw doing that, but yeah, no, to see you pulling over 1,000 from comp height on that trap bar and on your birthday, no less, I was fired up to see that. So what is the height of the trap bar in the show?
Yeah, so it's 12 inches roughly, give or take. It's fabricated, I believe, from Rogue. If not, it's just custom fabricated, but it looks like it's from Rogue from the picture. And then it'll have the Hummer tire, so it'll be really long as well. So
Yeah,
I think with 4 tires, it's like 12 or 1,300 pounds. I can't see anybody pulling 4 tires. I think somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 is going to be good, especially on day 2 as the first of that. Like you said, a lot of the people, if you look at the Rogue trap bar that everyone's using, and they're using the high handles, that's like a 16 to 17 inch pull. And you're skipping the hardest part of the lift. The hardest part of trap bar deadlift is that first 4 inches. And then after that, if you're moving through that, you're fine. It's just about grit.
no, there's been a handful of guys I've seen them like they're gonna have a rude awakening when they get to the competition, and that trap bar is 3 or 4 inches lower than what they've been pulling on. I feel like I haven't seen a trap bar deadlift in a major strongman competition. I mean, there's been various side handle deadlift variations, but interesting to see the trap bar in there. And then there's the bench press ish event. That's what going to be the is it the dropping kegs variation? Do you know how they're setting it up?
Yeah, so he did it 2 years ago. So if you go back and look at some of the footage from 2 years ago, it was a chest press. I think it starts around 370-ish, maybe a little lighter, and it ends around 570-ish. And it feels pretty close to a normal bench press, maybe a little easier, but it's a very shoulder and tricep dominant. I think it will be. And that's what Brian set himself to.
Yeah, and you got a pretty good little recreation of it at your gym. I've been seeing you posting the that chest press machine variation that you've been doing. It's a nice little setup you got out there.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm at the West Bank Athletic Club in off Bell Chase Highway in Gretna, Louisiana, but it's not perfect by any means. There's a lot of shitty conditions that I have to deal with, but for the most part, I have all the equipment that I need. And if I don't, the owner bum is usually very willing to figure something out and try to fabricate or buy or, somehow find a way for me to get done what I need to do.
Yeah, and you and I had texted back and forth about this. I actually trained at that gym when I was working for the Houston Texans. We played a preseason game against the New Orleans Saints, and when we were out in New Orleans, I was just looking up a good gym in the area, found the West Bank Athletic Club, and went out there, got a session. And it's just like a nasty old school, and nasty in the best way. I mean, like a old school, just iron jungle in there. A lot of interesting pieces. But man, New Orleans heat in the summer, training strongman in those conditions, that's a factor. That is a huge factor.
Yeah, I see a handful of athletes that are going to compete complain about the heat, and most of them live like 4 states above me at least. You have no idea. I'm like, you guys have no idea. It's like I was in Virginia for 2 weeks. I was like, it's hot and humid, yes, but you can breathe. The humidity here, you just can't breathe. It's weird, man.
You can cut the air with a knife. It's so thick. Like New Orleans is like the worst of all worlds because I was in Houston and it's kind of a similar climate. You're down there by the Gulf, so you get all of that just nasty humidity, and then it's so hot on top of that. So I mean, just the conditions are absolutely brutal. I mean, like when you're training strongman specifically in hot conditions, if you're doing like a log, you might need to have like 8 changes of shirts because as soon as that shirt surface becomes slippery, whether it's a log or a stone and the tacky's melting off you, everything's just sliding off your body. So like some of my most like frustrating sessions I ever had competing in strongman was having to deal with training in the heat. And then you and I have had to take some measures to really just crank up the hydration aspect because you're just losing so much fluid so fast, especially at your size.
Yeah, it's like I'm almost getting after, I'm better about it now. I was going on Saturdays mornings just because of time. I kind of blocked off half my Saturday and I would go outside first and try to do an event or two. And then I would just be like, I would basically have heat exhaustion. But then I'd go inside and do log and I would feel okay. Like the AC kind of made me feel better. But I was still just drained. You felt better, but everything was gone. So I switched to training to Friday evenings after work. And, I kind of have to move a little bit quicker, but it's so much better. I'll do log press inside in the AC, and then I'll go out and, the sun's down. It's still hot and humid, but the sun's down and it makes a huge difference. I can get through everything I need to.
Yeah, no, it's a variable that some people, I mean, depending on what region of the country you're in, you're lucky, you got like Lucas Hatton up in the beautiful Pacific Northwest training out near Seattle, where it's probably 75 degrees and gorgeous out there. And then you got you're getting off a plane and then you're just out there in the brutal July New Orleans heat. So, I mean, you've got some uphill battles here and, you kind of viewed as the new guy. Do you feel like you're kind of coming in with like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, something to prove?
Not to anybody else. No, I don't really care what they think, but to myself, yeah, I want to prove that I belong competing at the top. I want to be invited to other shows. Like this show won't break me, but it could make me, get invited to other things and open the window for opportunities elsewhere.
Hell yeah. No, I mean, it's a great position to be in, kind of that, the new guy, the kind of underdog position. I mean, when everyone expects you to win, right? There's this pressure and it's kind of like, all right, well, you win and what was expected of you, or, you don't. And then everyone's like, what the hell happened? Whereas when you're coming in, it's kind of as the underdog, like no one has major expectations, right? It's kind of a win-win. Like, hey, maybe you don't podium, whatever, you don't get the placing you want. Hey, you're still young. You didn't have that expectation bearing down on you. But on the flip side, you come in, you show out and you get a good placing. Now suddenly everyone's like, holy, who the hell is this guy? So I'm really excited to see you out there and just watching your training and the prep you've had, I think you're going to come in and gain a lot of respect. I really do.
Yeah, that's the plan. But like you said, I think the people close to me and that are familiar with my training and stuff, they know that I can do well. It's just about executing at the show, but that goes for everybody. I mean, you can be the favorite, but you still have to execute. And I mean, that's been proven over and over. If you're not executing, it doesn't matter how good you are. So, like I said, I can come in, I can PR and everything. I can get last place. And that just tells me I'm not strong enough yet. But at the same time, if I can PR and everything, I'm not finishing in last. I think I'll do pretty well.
Hell yeah, I do too. And you've got the perfect mindset, man. Like just working with you, you've got the commitment, the work ethic, you're humble, all those things. So I love seeing guys like you have success. And I think that you're going to. What's your mindset kind of on show day? Like, are you kind of anxious, jittery, butterflies, can't sleep the night before? Or are you kind of like easygoing, take it all in stride type of guy?
I think this one will feel differently for me. It's the first step to the next level. I'm going to approach it a little differently than I have in the past. I'm usually after the first event pretty carefree. Really after that first press, lift, whatever the first event is, that first rep, I'm okay. Or even like once I start, I'm okay. It's just breaking the ice and then I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected. I'm not someone that shows a lot of emotion or gets super hyped up. But going into this show, I'm going to be selfish. And I've told people this. I really have to put myself first. I did that last year at Shaw and I ended up on top. And then I didn't do that when I went to OSG, and the events weren't as good for me either. But I think that was a major factor. Like I was, running people around in my car. I was picking people up. I was like, oh, where do you want to meet for dinner? Like I was doing a lot of bullshit that I shouldn't have been doing, but I was friends with them. So I thought it was okay. Where I have friends coming to SMO and everything, but I've told them like, hey, I need to do what I need to do. Like I rent a car. I'm doing everything that I have to do, and everybody else is second rate. And I don't mean to be mean by that. It's just the reality. Like this show means a lot to me.
Hell yeah. No, I mean, you're trying to be a professional athlete, man. And like right now, this is the biggest competition in your life. Like you've got to be. I mean, you've got to just put your full focus, intensity, and so many guys in so many sports, I've seen it sell so much in football, just have those distractions from the friends and the family. Everyone wants something from you. And when you're getting pulled in a million directions, I mean, a guy like you're a great dude. Like you want to be a good friend, you want to be a good family, you want to take care of people. But at the same time, like you got a mission, you got a job to do. So no, like there's nothing wrong with being selfish in a situation like this. And I'm going to be there in your corner, helping you out with, having your meals and all your hydration, there for the show. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Well, let me ask you this. Well, we're getting towards the end here, but you feel like you have any rivals in the sport? Any dudes you kind of putting a target on that you'd love to beat?
No, not yet. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think I rub anybody the wrong way. If I do, I don't really care. I'm not really thinking about you, so it's fine. So no, I don't think I have any rivals. Maybe there's some people that don't like me, but unlikely.
I was just fishing to try to get some beef stirred up here on the podcast, But what about just long term, man? What are your aspirations in the sport? Where do you see yourself, or where do you want to see yourself? Let's call it the next 5 years.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I think I have 5 years to really give it my best shot. This first year, from the show on is kind of activating to the top and hopefully still competing at the top. And then I have a couple years to really give it my best. And as long as I stay healthy, in 5 years, I'll be 33. There's just something you can't do about age. I'm not the most genetically gifted. Sometimes events change. Sometimes they get heavier. Sometimes they get lighter. You can't say too much, but like, I would love to compete at all 4 major shows. If I can podium at them, that's great. If I could win them, that's great. But I'm not putting pressure on myself saying that I have to be the world's strongest man, or I have to be the strongest man on earth. Things like that. That's just not a goal right now. Like I'm very much focused on the now, and I want to perform good, and I want to perform my best. And as long as I'm improving, then I can't complain.
No, I couldn't agree more with that mindset, man. Like, it's the cliche, take it one game at a time, like take it one show at a time. Hell, take it one training session at a time, one meal at a time, staying locked in on the present, not getting caught up with the what ifs down the road. I think it's a great place to be, and everything's going to fall into place where it's meant to fall into place when you focus on the here and now. Just having the best training session you can have today builds into the next training session the next week. Have the best competition you can have at Strongest Man on Earth, and then let the chips fall where they may. And I think they're going to fall in a good direction for you, man. So anyway, Josh, fired up to have gotten you on here. Like I said, I'm just trying to get a bunch of my dudes and just some of the competitors that I'm going to be working with, and just a chance for you guys to, I want to be on the right side of history right now. You're kind of the lesser known guy, but in a few years, I mean, who knows where you're going to be? So I could say, hey, I had him on my podcast first day. So, but anyway, Josh, where can people find you at?
Yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram at Spurgeon_Josh. I'm not too active on much other social media platforms, just Instagram for now.
Got it. Well, guys, give him a follow on Instagram. He posts a lot of his crazy training on there. Keep an eye out for this dude. I really think he's going to be making a big splash in the sport, and he's going to be competing on one of the biggest stages in the sport of strongman here in mid-August in Denver, Colorado, at the Strongest Man on Earth competition against the best in the sport. So Anyway, guys, you can find me as always. Go to my website, hammerchiselperformance.com, for my coaching services, my training programs, ebooks. Give the YouTube channel a subscription, putting out more content there. And then, as always, episodes of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast dropping every Tuesday. But Josh, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, John.
Now go get your next meal in, brother. Talk to you later.
Bye, John.